I guess Mary Jane's pretty excited.
So I'm probably a
Yeah, until everybody else.
Everybody pushes the envelope for that. Offers usual land, but if you tell them to set it aside, like you take it away.
When they push it through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it only takes the shillings.
I wish I could see like exactly where.
And it's a case.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's they're saying is that
Be a little bit
there's a
more,
this,
yeah,
that help.
yeah, yeah, we'll be for a while.
It look like enough.
Through it like a paper.
But are there many residential houses right on
No, that's the thing that I'm thinking going in here.
Let the record show it's 6 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. Sarah, would you please do the roll call?
Eddie Guggenhauer.
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present.
Eric Goff.
Here.
Christina Norton. Present. Tim Lewis.
Present.
Daniel Gant. Nick Deal.
Okay, we have a quorum this evening. We need an approval of the agenda. I don't think any items have changed since it was sent to you, so I have a motion by Mr. Goff to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Do we have anyone that signed up to speak under the open governmental procedure? Okay. Let the record show that there is none there. Next thing we have is approval of the meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour, to approve the minutes as submitted. No changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain due to absence.
Let the record show there's one abstention by Mr. Lewis due to absence. Okay, we have 7 public hearings this evening. So we'll start with Wagner's Outdoor Express.
The first waiver tonight is Wagner's Outdoor Express RV. The file is 2207-212. The developer is Wagner Estates LLC, and the engineer is Greenway Engineering. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 7, parcels 166 and 166.2. The site's located at 128 Recreation Lane, approximately 600 feet southeast from the intersection of Grade Road and Williamsport Pike. The developer proposes the demolition of one existing structure, construction of a 3,500 square foot garage, and construction of an office/parts building. This site is currently served by public water and private septic. At the July 5th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the waiver request to Section 504.E, Table 5-4, was tabled to allow time for a new waiver request to be submitted. The developer is now requesting the following waivers. A waiver to Section 504E, Table 5-4, requiring a maximum impervious coverage of 75% for commercial projects served by public water and private septic. A waiver to Section 802.1.B.I.A, requiring a 25-foot buffer between commercial and residential uses. And a waiver to Section 801.10, requiring all off-street parking areas and driveways which provide ingress and egress to be paved. Planning and engineering staff recommends the following. Approval of the waiver request to Section 504.E, Table 5-4, with the condition that all storm drain and stormwater management design, existing and proposed, is based on the actual impervious coverage provided on the site. Approval of the waiver request to Section 802.1.B.I.A, with the condition that the required screening is provided where the adjacent residential uses exist. And denial of the waiver request to Section 801.10, as the ordinance allows overflow parking areas to be alternative surface, which excludes new model sales areas. If the Planning Commission wishes to grant the waiver for Section 801.10, engineering recommends that the stormwater management design consider all gravelled surfaces as asphalt and the stormwater management calculations, and all other requirements of Section 801.1 be applicable.
Okay, since this was tabled at the July meeting, Mr. Legal, do we need to untable for further discussion?
No, I mean, you've opened up the hearing, so it's already made.
Okay, all right. Do we have anyone to represent Wagner's Outdoor Express?
Hi, Brooke Perry from Greenway Engineering.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. This is the opportunity for you to make your questions or comments known regarding this project. I ask that you please stand, come forward, state your name, and any project notes that you may want to discuss.
Seeing nobody, I'm going to public hearing be closed.
Okay, let the record show that there is no public comment. I have a motion by Mr. Goff,
Second.
second by Mr. Gokenhour, to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Ms. Perry or of the staff?
I do.
Okay,
On the third item, it kind of is a little bit open for us. If we grant you a waiver, then other conditions apply. So how would you like to see that done?
So essentially what it is a cost saving measure right now for the developer. So that area is currently existing gravel, and that's where they have their RVs staged. So because it's not open to the public to actually drive through, it's gated off. They intend for the public to just walk through there and view the different RV models. That yes, it is along the ingress egress there, but it's private. So we just don't believe that this particular section of the ordinance applies. Now, the overflow parking areas I know are allowed to be gravel. This isn't technically an overflow gravel area because it is to show RVs. But because there is no public travel through that section, we feel that gravel would be the most appropriate surface. And in terms of imperviousness and how that's handled with the stormwater management, tend to fully take that into consideration. The pond is currently sized as if it were asphalt. Really, the gravel there is just going to slow down that water for the meantime. And in the future, the developer will most likely be paving that at some point.
Are you guys okay with that?
We just see it
Analysis?
here's where we are with it. We see it as new model sales area. That's what they're using it for. So new model sales area is supposed to be paid. I mean, I'm just telling you that's what the ordinance says. You know, I wrote my response to the waiver more than I did. There's some latitude in there. But if they decide, if you do decide to grant it, the other sections of 801 are still in force. That means setbacks, that means parking spaces. I mean, we're gonna ask for all of that, even if it is gravel.
So right now, the client, you know, they're really looking for the purpose of it to be cost saving for them. So just to not have to put down approximately 2 acres of asphalt at this time, which I think they are looking to do in the future. Just right now, it's not
So you're okay with go ahead and sizing the stormwater management for the additional 2 acres of impervious area in the future?
Yes, and so that's already being taken into the calculations because the gravel would be considered impervious no matter what. So in terms of the imperviousness as a total, it would be taken into consideration. We would use the curve number for gravel just because it changes how fast the water is moving across that parking lot. If
So
it's,
you have to use the curve number for asphalt, which is 98% impervious, not 89% impervious.
Especially if he intends on paving it down the road once
Because
he
you're
gets
gonna
a
need
little
that number
cash.
for quantity control in your system. And I don't think you have enough room for stormwater. That's what we looked at, but we don't know till it's done, so.
we would be open to doing that if that's what they would like to see that curve number at. We're happy to do that.
That's what this says.
I think I'm ready to accept staff recommendations on these, if
Okay.
you're ready.
Do you want to, should we do it as one motion, or should we do it as
You can do it however you want, either way.
I like you a lot. You just let us do what we want to do.
Somebody just needs to make a motion. If it makes it easier to parse them out, if you're changing the language and staff recommendation, then like we should make a couple of amendments.
Do you want to rethink your motion?
I mean, I can go ahead and get started on it, if that makes it,
I got a whole blank piece of paper. Let's hear it.
all right. Well, on item number one, a motion to accept the staff recommendation for the approval of the waiver with the condition all storm drain and stormwater management design, existing and proposed, is based on the actual impervious coverage provided on the site. And I'll go ahead and do the second one. And usually this one concerns me about the protection of the neighbors. So, where there are residences, that really needs to be followed to protect their privacy. Okay, thank you. And I think number three, it sounds to me, this thing reads two different ways. Make a motion to grant the waiver with the understanding of engineering that the stormwater management design consider all gravel surfaces as asphalt, and the stormwater management calculations and all other requirements of section 801-1 be applicable.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour and a second by Mr. Lewis to, I'm sorry, Mr. Goff, sorry. To accept staff recommendation for item number 1, number 2, and number 3, to follow the direction of, to accept the waiver, but to follow the direction of the surface gravel asphalt stormwater management calculations. Does that sound like what we agreed on?
Yes.
That sound like that's what you think?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
think? Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passed. Okay, the next public hearing is Lucas Mason.
Yes, this request for waiver is Lucas Mason, lots A and B, file 2207-214. The developer is Lucas Mason and the surveyor is Greg Yabernetsky. It's located in the Apecan District, tax map 3, parcel 3.18. The site's located on Williamsport Pike, 0.2 miles south of Weaver Lane. The developer is proposing the subdivision of an existing 0.50 acre parcel, creating two 0.25 acre parcels. Both parcels would be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, requiring a 2 acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process. Since the proposed lots meet the minimum lot size requirements of 7,500 square feet for single family dwellings with public water and sewer, and will obtain WVDOH entrance permits, engineering and planning staff recommends approval of the waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, requiring a 2 acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, this is Greg Yabernetsky, and Mr. Mason is also here, the owner, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. It's your opportunity to make your comments known from the public. Please come forward, state your name, your address, and any comments you might have regarding this project.
My name is Alan Mock. I own the property at 106 Bertha Lane. and Bertha Lane would serve this property. And I'm just wondering, is there any proposal to maintain part of the driveway, or how is the parking going to be arranged? And it seems like the property is just suitable for one residence rather than two. That's my,
Is there anything on the property at the current?
it's been cleared of, there was one mobile home on that two, on A and B,
Okay, there was one.
and it's removed.
It's removed, okay. Okay, so there's nothing there now?
No.
Okay.
Is there currently a road maintenance agreement with
On
any of
Bertha
the
Lane?
neighbors
No,
on it?
106 Bertha Lane is what I own, and it includes that Bertha Lane. It includes the whole lane going back there. And there's never been any agreements on anyone helping to maintain that roadway. So I'm just curious as to is there a intent to help maintain that roadway? And what are they going to do about parking?
Well, if it's parking, it would probably be in the driveways. I'm just assuming that if there's residences, they would park in their driveway. But I don't know that for sure. Mr. Yaberneski, do you want to address that?
We are required, as part of the staff, we get reviews to put on the plat that they are responsible for maintaining the road through their part of it. They're all others are responsible for maintenance of the road. That will go on the preliminary final plat. That's one of the notes that that staff has determined, and I think it's a good note to put on there. So they will be required to maintain that.
There's also, there's two ways that you go about getting, road entrance approvals, either through road maintenance agreements with private road and lot owners, or a DOH entrance permit. There's a permit for Bertha Lane now, so I'm not sure if Mr. Mason and Mr. Yabernetsky intend on updating that DOH entrance permit, or if there's going to be the notes that are provided. I mean, the notes are general notes that are put on every preliminary final, every minor plat, just to assume responsibility of their own area for maintenance. But in this case, we would look for some sort of maintenance agreement. But what I was curious about is Bertha Lane maintained by DOH currently?
No, there's no.
But there's an entrance permit.
Entrance permit, yeah. And we have sent it up to the Highway Department to get that updated, so if they, will approve that, that'll be on what theirs. But they say the maintenance, you're mainly concerned about the road being maintained, and that part of it, they will have to, there'll be a note that says they're responsible for helping maintain that road through their section of that whole park.
So here, my suggestion would be that you amend that note to specifically call out Bertha Lane and say that all users who have access off of Bertha Lane are equally responsible for maintenance and upkeep.
However you want to word that, but that's, I have no problem with that.
We urge private property owners to come into maintenance agreements with one another, especially people that access the same road. So if you guys haven't already, then that's a great thing to do for private lanes like this, because if not, they're not going to be maintained other than if you guys maintain them yourselves.
I can't, well, I'm having a hard time finding the gravel to do it one more time anyway.
So, Mr. Monk, you are back, he's back here in the back part, is that what I'm saying? Okay, and then there's a Quiglio. How do they gain access to their property?
They go off of Route 11, and of course they use the lane when they're having yard sales. That's about it.
They go off of Route 11 to get to
Yeah, there's the deli right there.
Yeah,
It
it's on the
comes
other
up on
side.
these two properties. It doesn't really feed into their property, but it looks like they've merged these lots across there, so they have access.
Okay. Oh, through an alley.
Yes, ma'am, it's right there,
That's it. Yeah.
just on the other side of the property, off of the land.
Well, do they have to get two highway entrance permits off of Bertha Lane then?
No, the highway.
It'll be an addendum to the existing permit, basically saying the addition of one extra lot off of Bertha Lane is fine with them, is what we anticipated saying.
Is that
Bertha
any-
Lane is not a state road, I don't
Bertha Lane, it would be the entrance, what you're
Would
getting
be off of 11.
updated is the traffic leaving Bertha Lane entering onto US 11. So basically, DOH will acknowledge that one extra house and 7 more trips a day are de minimis, and it's okay. That's what we expect.
But the road maintenance agreement or the road maintenance notes is where that private lane is kind of covered from us, since we obviously can't make everybody join an HOA or some type of organization that would retroactively, you know, collect
Dues.
homeowners' dues, yeah. So that's how it's covered, and that's how it's been handled for quite some time now.
Mr. Mock, do you know how long Bertha Lane might be? Do you know, Greg?
400 or some feet.
It serves a couple lots, and then the last parcel that actually owns the lane goes way back, the driveway's a lot longer.
It crosses a
than the last
stream.
house.
It crosses a
It's about
stream to
400
the,
foot long.
Yeah.
another
400
mobile
feet
home,
long?
a double
Is
wide.
that longer it is? Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm satisfied with what you said.
The parking question, we allow for 3 parking spaces for each dwelling, so it wouldn't be just one off along the road or anything like that.
Yeah, that lane needs to be kept clear.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sounds like you've got it pretty well ironed out and you're comfortable with that?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
My name is Randy Bartles. I'm the landowner on the opposite side of Berkeley Lane. Ever since the beginning, when the former landowner many years ago put 2 mobile home lots opposite side of Berkeley Lane, the one we're talking about and mine, and it put a lane up the middle, which it wasn't called Berkeley Lane at the time, it is now. And he put an extra mobile home in behind there. There's been a problem with water runoff. Most of the time, the water runoff is back through my backyard. During heavy rainfall, I get floods big time. And also because of the lane, because of Berkeley Lane, the Mason's property would flood also. Well, he was told that he had to put a pipe underneath Bertha Lane to let that water drain, which drained into my backyard. So I dug a ditch and put a pipe down that took it clear down into the run behind my property to try to alleviate that. It did to a certain point, but I still have a problem with rain. When I get heavy rain, it just floods my backyard big time. My concern is if they put 2 lots on here, it's going to make it worse for my backyard. The pipe is still under the road. It still goes through my backyard, and it's probably going to just make it worse because I'm pretty sure they're going to have to put another landing for another mobile home to sit on. So that's going to take some fill. It's going to take whatever stormwater management they had, and it's just going to take that away also. So all the stormwater is going to wind up in my backyard. There is a drainage that goes under Route 11 near the alleyway on the opposite side, and it comes out there and it drains into Mr. Mason's property. From the very beginning, I asked the landowner, I said, why don't you just get something and dig that ditch straight back, and the creek is on back, there's a little run back there, and have it drain that way, then he wouldn't have the problem, and I wouldn't have the problem of all the rain, all the storm water. But that was never taken care of. You would probably have to get Mr. Quaglio's permission to do that, because you'd have to go through his property to dig that ditch. My concern is if they put 2 lots on there, it's just going to take away any type of drainage on that side, and it's all going to spill over onto my property.
Well, the lots aren't large enough to generate a stormwater management plan, are they?
We don't look at stormwater management. There's no stormwater management on these parcels existing. And the preliminary final process is supposed to be a process that doesn't require engineering, and the two lots would not trigger the need for any type of stormwater management or stormwater management plan through our offices.
Well, they're fairly small lots, so,
The one thing I can understand is I own 2.5 acres, and I got 3 properties. Years ago, I wanted to cut those properties up into 3 properties in case I wanted to sell any off, and I was told I couldn't do that.
Each lot's looked at from an individual impervious area, so since there's nothing there now, everybody would basically start at ground zero for, 5,000 square feet, which is our typical trigger for stormwater management.
how long have you been there, Mr. Bartles?
Since 1985.
If based on what's shown on the aerial too, that area of his property is an advisory flood area. It's not on this property, the Mason property, but what his property is showing as is.
It all goes down there. It all goes downhill towards us.
Yeah, it all goes downhill to the run behind my property.
Well, what I see is there's a lot of impervious area out there, parking lot, buildings, that there's definitely no stormwater out there now, and there should be.
Yeah, but we can't go back.
Going after this.
Yeah, we can't go back and mandate stormwater management or storm pond on property that's been in existence for as long as these lots have
If
been.
they try to modify it, I can.
If they what?
If they try to modify it or subdivide it, I can.
If you have a property that exceeds the 5,000 square feet
Yeah.
and you want to come to us to subdivide it, at that point, that's when we look at it from a major site plan
Right.
situation and ask for stormwater management for those proposed lots or subdivision or whatever wants to be done with that property.
But these lots are not
But
near
this
that.
lot
big.
is not something that would trigger that.
No.
The one across the road there, if you wanted, where there's issue from flooding coming from, more than likely it's across the road, not from these.
You mean across in the Bessemer area?
Yeah, not the lots that you're talking about today.
Yeah, because Mr. Mason's lot would flood just as bad as mine. But then they put the pipe under the road, and then all the water from Mr. Mason's lot would come over in my backyard.
Can you point out to me where the pipe is? Greg, can you point out where the pipe is? Somebody?
It's about halfway down the lot, I think there, so 150
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
road.
I would say right between A and B.
I'm sorry, ma'am, this gentleman has a.
Right in between A and B would be,
Yeah,
the
it's
pipe
about
would go
halfway
in.
where the pipe crossed.
A and B. B must be
About
up here.
150 feet or so off of Route 11, going back.
Across, you're talking about the one in Bertha.
Yeah, underneath Bertha Lane.
She was looking for the one on that Route 11.
Yeah.
That would be right beside the alley going
The alleyway.
under the road, the alleyway on the other side of
Okay.
Mr. Mason's lot.
There's a lot of older structures and a lot of impervious area out there that over the years has come to pass that, now there would be a major stormwater management plan put in place. I can't really do that about these 2 lots because I don't see where they have enough to trip it, but if they do go over an impervious area of 5,000 square feet, then we would be asking for stormwater management for sure. And that'll be, I believe that note is on the preliminary final, is it not, Greg?
I think it is, yeah.
We have, that's a standard note on there when they come in for their
They go for
building permit.
5,000.
When they want their house permit to build, we check that on every one of them, so if they're over 5,000 square feet, they will be a stormwater management plan.
And I think Mr. Mason is going to just put 2 mobiles, is that correct on there, which is very small as far as the runoff. You're right, there will be run a little bit more than previous, but it won't be, you're not looking at a major, structure there.
Planning Commission members?
Anything else he wants to add or anyone else?
Do you have anything else that you wanna?
No, on a side note, you know, we saw that home deteriorate probably over 10 years, and I'm very glad that Mr. Mason came in and got rid of it and cleaned it up because it was overgrown, and we were almost to the point that we were going to call the county and complain about it, but it has been cleaned up, and I'm very appreciative of that. My concern is just, you know, where's all this stormwater going to go if they put 2 lots in there and they bring all kinds of fill in? They're going to have a problem too. They're with what's coming across Route underneath Route 11. That's something's taken care of over there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak regarding this project?
Make a motion, public hearing be closed.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to close the public hearing, second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. All right, Planning Commission, you've heard Mr. Bartles and you've heard Mr. Mock, you've heard Mr. Yaberniski, you've heard Mr. Mason. So, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion that we accept staff recommendation for the approval of the waiver, section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance 2009 requiring a 2-acre minimum lot size in order to proceed to the preliminary final process.
Would you be willing to add that they work out a road maintenance agreement with the other homeowners?
Yes, that there'd be a note attached to the sketch.
I have 2 drawings here. Which one would you be putting the note on?
It hasn't been submitted yet.
Oh, this is just a sketch.
Just a sketch, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's kinda there.
Yeah, it's right.
It's something that we look for when we review it, but
It's not something that.
We require it on all common driveway entrances off the state highway.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendation and to include the addition of maintenance by Mr. Mason to Bertha Lane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passed.
Well, thank you.
All right, the next public hearing is Overlook at Riverside.
this public hearing is a request for final plat approval. Project is Overlook at Riverside, Phase 5, lots 252 through 288. The file is 2205-142. The developer is Rott's Family Limited Partnership, and the engineer is Frederick Seibert and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 7, parcel 160.3, and is located on the east side of Williamsport Pike and south of I-81. This final plat proposes 37 townhome lots on 4.87 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $249,492 even. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Ed Schreiber with Frederick Schreiber Associates.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Opportunity for questions and comments. Please come forward.
Seeing none, ma'am, make a motion the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Okay, there are no comments from the public. Have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Schreiber or of the staff?
Are no questions, I make a motion to accept staff recommendation for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $249,492. Said plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $249,492. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next public hearing is Dillon Farms.
Yes, this is another request for final plat approval. The project is Dillon Farm Estates Phase 4, lots 115 through 124 and 157 through 180. The file is 2205-145. The developer is SMR Holdings and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 28, parcel 1. This property is located on the south side of Hedgesville Road, 0.4 miles northwest of Ridge Road. This final plat proposes 34 single-family lots on approximately 9.5 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $841,320 even. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and developer's agreement.
We do have anyone to represent the project?
Mike Roberts, this project.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing, questions or comments at this time, please?
No public hearing will close.
Nobody to speak? Oh.
I don't see anybody making a move. It seems
Trying to
like,
make up for lost time.
it seems like everybody's sitting in the back now. I don't
Yeah,
know what we do that, but.
Do we have some problem? People don't like us anymore? It's like the back. Okay, let the record show that there is apparently no public comment. And I have a motion from Mr. Goff to close the public hearing, second from Mr. Gokenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Time for you to make your comments.
Hearing none, may I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation for approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $841,320. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and developer's agreement.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval for Dillon Farms Estates, Phase 4, lots 115 through 124 and 157 through 180, with a surety in the amount of $841,320. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next public hearing we have is Willow Glen.
Yes, this is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Willow Glen, file 2206-150. The developer is MDGWG Inc. and the engineer is Integrity Federal Services. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 6, parcel 73, and is located on the west side of Middleway Pike, across from Jubal Early Avenue. This project proposes 179 townhome lots on approximately 25 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the July 5th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A of the subdivision ordinance to reduce the number of off-lot parking spaces from 1 to 0.6. There will be a total of 3.6 spaces per unit, with 3 being on lot, 1 in the garage and 2 in the driveway, and 0.6 being provided in off-lot parking areas. On August 3rd, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Chad Long, Integrity Engineer.
Thank you. Public comments, please. Let the record show that there appears to be no public
Public
comments.
hearing to close.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Wallen or of the staff?
got them squeezed in there, don't you?
We are over the open space requirements.
Excuse me?
We do exceed the open space requirements. Not lower.
Well, this is just a sketch, yeah, so there's opportunity to make changes.
I make a motion that we accept staff recommendations for advancement of the sketch plan to the planning plans. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Gokenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that is to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to advance the project forward. All those in favor? I think I asked that already, didn't I? Opposed? Motion passed.
You just want to make sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of overwhelmed with the number of houses. A lot of townhouses. Okay, the next public hearing is Sheets, Route 45.
Yes, this is another request for sketch plan advancement. Project is Sheets Route 45. The file is 2206-163. The developer is Sheets Inc. The engineer is Integrity Federal Services. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 5, parcel 33, and is located on Apple Harvest Drive, approximately 500 feet east of exit 12. The developer is proposing the redevelopment of the existing Sheets. The new development will consist of a 6,139 square foot convenience store, gas station, a drive-through, and a 1,000 square foot automated car wash to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On July 29th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Chad Wallen, Integrity Engineering, we also have Ron Franks with Sheets.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Opportunity for questions.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Let the record show that there's no comments. I have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour, and I think second by Mr. Goff. To close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission, do you have questions of Mr. Wallen or the staff? Are they going to tear down the existing building that's there? It says demolition.
Yes. It's a rebuild of what's there.
Kind of like what they're doing with that 7-Eleven up there at Namebush Lane. Wow.
Same thing.
Wow. A lot of revenue they're going to miss, aren't they?
Imagine.
Yeah.
We do about 45, so they're going through some improvements right there too.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to coordinate the innovation. Minimize that.
Yeah. Does the car wash that's there belong to Sheets? There's a car wash right on the edge
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
That belongs to the Sheets. Okay. And you're going to tear that down too? Wow.
Move it.
Wow. Wow.
You're gonna move it, right? You're gonna move it a little further.
Yeah, it's moving.
Slightly,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not
The
moving very
layout's
much.
essentially staying the same.
Okay.
Okay, motion?
There are no comments. I make a motion to accept staff recommendations for advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plans.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lewis, second Mr. Gokenhour, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to advance the project from the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. That's gonna be a really, really busy place out there when they tear that down, the route, traffic. Oof. Okay, the last public hearing we have is 109 Tavern Road.
Yes, the last public hearing is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is 109 Tavern Road, filed 2206-151. The developer is Dr. Lance Pittman, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 41, parcel 45.7. This site's located on the north side of Tavern Road, approximately 830 feet east of Rockcliffe Drive. This project proposes a 1,886 square foot addition onto an existing 3,342 square foot medical building on 0.89 acres, which is currently served by public water and sewer. At the July 5th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted the following waivers to the subdivision ordinance. Section 503B, which requires a 75-foot front setback, 15-foot side setback, and 25-foot rear setback. Section 801.1, Table 8-2, which requires access aisle widths to be a minimum of 24 feet. And Section 801.6.b, which requires an 8-foot parking setback from all exterior property lines. On August 3rd, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, do we have a representative for the project? Well, there you are. I can see you.
Good evening, Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the project.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. Questions or comments can be received at this time.
Public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no public comment. And have a motion by Mr. Goff,
Second.
second by Mr. Lewis, to close public hearing. All those in favor? Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Didn't we have a public hearing on this project a while?
waivers.
Oh, for the
There were
waivers.
3 waivers on this.
Okay, now it's for the actual, okay. And it's not going to get interfered with the widening or the roundabout at Rockcliffe Drive and Tavern Road?
Oh,
It's
no.
far enough back.
Oh, yes.
I hope,
It's quite a distance from there.
yeah. I don't know how far back because they seem to be working all different directions from
It's
that
closer
end.
to like the Little League Field entrance.
Excuse me?
It's closer to the Little League Field entrance going towards Raleigh Street Extension.
Yeah, I know where it is, but I just, I know they're doing a lot of work out there with different services. I don't know whether we're going back that far or not. Okay, Planning Commission members, do we have a motion?
I move advancement of sketch plan to preliminary plan stage.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Norton and second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to advance the project forward to the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public hearings. Now we have preliminary plan approval for 203 Circle Drive.
This is a request for a preliminary plan advancement. The project is 2003 Industrial Circle. The file number is 2207-208. The developer is 2003 Industrial Circle LLC and the engineer is Fox and Associates. The project is located at Hedgesville District, map 34, parcel 11, 2012. This project is located on the northeast quadrant of Route 9 and Celtic Drive, adjacent to the Rocks convenience store. The developer is proposing trailer equipment storage on 9.47 acres and utilities are not being proposed. There are no waivers that have been requested. On August 15th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith deeded the project complete and compliant with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan.
Thank you. Representative?
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Okay.
And Linda, if I could, one brief comment, please. With regard to the staff report, I'd like to call to everyone's attention that back in 1990, there was a DeMagno site plan done for this property. It was known as Howard's Delivery Service. It was my understanding that Howard's Delivery Service had some function with General Motors at the time. And just to clarify, that building has been in existence for quite some time. Again, 1990, 1991. And this trailer and equipment parking area is accessory to, for lack of a better word, that existing building or that existing use. I didn't want the staff, I didn't want you to or I didn't want you to think we're developing 9 acres worth of trailer parking. That's not the case. It's typically about an acre, maybe a little over an acre of trailer and equipment parking. Thank you.
Thanks. Staff, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Nope.
No?
I move approval of the preliminary plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Norton to approve the preliminary plan. Second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
Okay, preliminary final plan for Kevin D. Walker.
Yes, this is a request for prelim final plat approval. The project is Kevin D. Walker subdivision, lots 1 through 3. The file number is 2109-327. The developer is Kevin D. Walker, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located at the Opequon District, tax map 15, parcel 46. This site is located south of Shepherdstown Road, approximately 0.75 miles west of Files Crossroad. The developer is proposing the creation of a 14.4 acre parcel, a 19.7 acre parcel, and a 2 acre parcel to be served by private well and septic. There are no waivers that have been requested. On August 16, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith deemed the project compliant and complete with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the prelim final plat.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the project.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
Hearing none, may I make a motion we accept staff recommendation for approval of the preliminary final plat.
Motion Mr. Gokenhour, second Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to accept the preliminary final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item under preliminary final plat is Corwin Roach.
Yes, this is another request for prelim final plat approval. The project is Corwin Roach. The file number is 2205-140. The developer is Stanley K. Corwin Roach, and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located at the Jaredstown District, tax map 11, parcel 4. This site is located at the end of Elegant Drive, approximately 0.7 miles south of its intersection with Tuscarora Pike. The developer is proposing the creation of a 4.1 acre parcel and a 22.9 acre residue to be served by private well and septic. On August 2022, I'm used to 2 pages. On August 24th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating a review of the above-mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the prelim final plat.
Thank you. Representative Mr. Roberts?
Yes, Mike Roberts, presents project.
Okay, Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
Hearing none, may I make a motion we accept staff recommendation for approval of the preliminary final plat.
Motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is just to accept the preliminary final plat for Corwin Roach. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
The next item for preliminary final is Norma J. Ujima Tyson.
This is a request for prelim final plat approval. The project is Norma J. Ujima Tyson. The file number is 2220-0 2202-042. The developer is Richard Pauley, and the surveyor is Alpha Associates Inc. The project is located at the Mill Creek District, tax map 13, parcel 33. This site is located on the south side of Sam Mason Road, approximately 200 feet from its intersection with Torreytown Road. The developer is proposing the creation of a 15.13 acre parcel and a 63.65 acre residue to be served by private well and septic. On June 1st, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating a review of the above-mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the prelim final plat.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
David Costello with Alpha Associates.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Costello or of the staff?
Hearing none, ma'am, I'll make a motion, we accept staff recommendation for approval of preliminary final plat.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to approve the preliminary final plat for Norma J. Ujima Tyson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
And y'all making it easy on us this evening with these larger lots. Pretty nice.
Yeah, wait till they,
Making it easy on us, these larger lots. Pretty nice.
wait till the larger lots come in.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're coming.
Okay, final plat determination, Harvest Glen.
This is a request for final plat determination. The project is Harvest Glen Phase 2, lots 3 through 10 and 26 through 31. The file number is 2204-104. The developer is Panhandle Homes of Berkeley County, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. This project is located at the Opequon District, map 10, parcel 28. The site is located on Vicksburg Court and Creasy Way. This final plat proposes 14 single-family lots on 9.6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. There are no waivers that have been requested for this section. County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval on August 15, 2022, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the October 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do you have questions for Mr. Sianovich or the staff?
Hearing none, ma'am, I'll make a motion, we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination advertised for public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the October 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation and as to accept the final plat determination at a public hearing on October 3, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. The last item on the agenda is for final plat determination is Arcata Springs North.
This is a request for final plat determination. The project is Arcadia Springs North, Section 1, Phase 7, lots 125 through 136, 229 through 237, and 266 through 274. The file number is 2207-216. The developer is Monarch Development Group Incorporated, and the engineer is Gordon. This project is located at the Arden District, tax map 12, parcel 29.3, and tax map 7, parcels 5, 5.1, and 5.2. The location of this site is located on Van Clevesville Road, approximately 2,000 feet east of its intersection with Needy Road. The developer is proposing 30 single-family attached lots on approximately 5 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the July 1st, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to Section 305.4.1, requiring lots to be greater than 2 acres in size. A waiver to Article 2, Section 201, which reduced the continuous attached single-family units permitted from 3 units to 2. A waiver to Article 5, Section 504.E, Table 5.3, which reduced the lot width for a single-family residence from 75 feet to 63 feet. And a waiver to Article 8, Section 801, Table 8-1A, which reduced the off-site parking from single-family attached dwellings from 3 to 2.5 spaces per unit, with a minimum of 0.5 spaces per unit being provided off-site. At the September 16, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted an exception to Section 705.1 to not install sidewalks along Van Clevesville Road. On August 11, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the October 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission.
Thank you. Do we have a representative?
Chad Wallen with Integrity.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Wallen?
Hearing no comments, I make a motion to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the October 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission.
Second motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Gokenhour, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to conduct a public hearing on October 5, 2022, to determine a final plat approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. That basically concludes the agenda. Do we have anything from staff, council, or that we need to talk about?
Nothing for me.
No? Okay.
I move to adjourn.
Let the record show that Mr. John Goff is commenting for agenda on 7 o'clock. All those in, need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gokenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting is